Welcome home, all. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, the 28th of August. And we did do a little bit different for the Thursday. Obviously, I said I pushed some things into today from Tuesday that I had wanted to cover on the Tuesday because of, excuse me, because of the death of Dolly Parton. And I got some good comments on like I said, I don't think people, very few people are going to disagree with my comment or my statement, my assertion that if I said my queens of and for country music are Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, and Dolly Parton, you're almost going to have like really not much, if anybody, people to disagree with those three and to fight back or push hard. The only thing that you might get is somebody might add or might want to include some others. And that's all good, on my end. More power to you, all the best to you. I don't want my opinions to be the sole arbiter of what is and what is not good, in country music. But those are my three. In some ways, the way you grow up with country, with music, with entertainment, what you listened to as a kid growing up. And if you're old enough, I grew up listening to some Dolly Parton. I grew up listening to some Loretta Lynn. And even though, Patsy Cline and Loretta were a little before my time, like not out of my ear, but obviously in age, they were older. I was a kid, but I grew up listening to some of their music because it wasn't that far gone, 50s and 60s isn't that far gone from a child growing up in the 70s. Okay. And I'll say my dad used to listen to quite a bit, listen to a lot of country, a lot of different types of country. And so they were in my ear. So those are my three. So I don't think, again, that there aren't a lot of people that are going to disagree or argue or fight me on those three. If anything, you'll probably just want to add to them. And then my suggestion, as a matter of fact, let's do that. If I didn't do that on the Tuesday, my suggestion is add. If you think there are other women, including current, and we did talk, I did mention Reba McEntire a little bit. I did, because she's obviously more current. She's not as old as Dolly, wasn't clearly as old as Loretta Lynn or Patsy Cline. But if you want to include Reba McEntire, I get it. If there are other women, and there are others, there are some others that are kind of close for me there. Definitely out of the 60s, 70s, for sure. 70s and 80s even. Yeah. If you want to include some women out of the 90s into the zeros, more recent in decades, then by all means, drop that into the comments, section for the video. Who you think on my personal, as a matter of fact, let's do this. If my personal Mount Rushmore of ladies that I think are the queens of country are three, Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, in that order successively, then you add a fourth. Mount Rushmore has 4 presidents on it, but you add a fourth. Add your fourth. Who you think would be on a Mount Rushmore of queens of country, the queens of country and Western music. Notice I added the Western again. Country and Western music, which 4 ladies do you think? I'm giving you my 3. Give me one more. Give me one more that you think you can add. And again, it doesn't have to be just Reba. There are women, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that are strong. Just off the top of my head, I don't want to digress too much here before we move on to the show, but you might make the case, like at least recent or more recent, like a Carrie Underwood. I think you might be able to make that case. She's not super old, but she's been a star in country for decades, multiple decades, since she was, first seen on American Idol, and then grew from that into a global country superstar. And with the catalog, with the hell of a catalog of music too. That's just one off the top of my head, but she might be might be eligible for that list of country music queen title. But bear in mind, too, I did say I personally, and you don't have to, but I personally kind of have an issue with like the queen is dead, long live the queen kind of thing. I don't believe there should be like multiple queens all at the same time. So no, there aren't 4 women in country music right now that are all the queen. No go. There should only be one at a time. And that was kind of the issue why I had an issue with people saying or calling Reba McEntire the queen while Dolly was still alive. All right, Dolly's passed. World's a lesser place for it. Good lady. But yeah, I won't have any problem or trouble with someone saying that Reba McEntire is the queen of country music now because Dolly's no longer here. Anyway, let me stop there. But I had some. That was good. I almost say I had fun doing it, but that was enjoyable. Fun is not always enjoyable the same way, and enjoyable is not always fun the same way. But I enjoyed that show on the Tuesday, and I hope you guys did too. Good stuff, good material, good feeling, good thought, right? On music. Again, music is like it's a universal equalizer. You can have people on totally opposite ends of the spectrum, politically, ideologically, even religiously. And you hear a beat or a sound, and it elicits a response or a feeling or an emotion from you. And it manages to cut across all lines, bypass all divisions, and gets 2 totally different people moving in the same direction, feeling the same way, appreciating the same thing. And I did say on Tuesday that I think we need more of that. We definitely need more of that. Or at the very least, me, and others need to shine a light on those things, need to point those things out so that we're not just covering or talking about all the negative and the not positive things that go on in a daily life, in a world, in a country, in a region. So we need to do that. And I'll do my best effort. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm going to stop talking about things that I think are bad for us because, like a Cassandra, you can see it, you can tell people about it, but if they don't believe you, they don't listen, then those things happen. For those of you that don't know, Cassandra was a Trojan princess who saw the fall of Troy, warned everybody, told people about it, told people what was happening, what was going to happen. They didn't listen to her, and it happened. Cassandra. So we can tell people, we can warn people, and I'll give you the old analogy of example of, lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We can only say these things. So I want to be even-handed and good about talking about the good and the bad, talking about warning you and getting you to see things that are there that are potential problems and potential pitfalls or downfalls and potentially not good for our country or our people. But the soul still needs to be fed the good things that keep it going, that keep it motivated, that keep it alive, that keep us happy. Life, liberty, and the pursuit, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit. Kind of hard to pursue happiness if you don't know what that happiness is or you don't see it. Okay. All right. Let's get down to the dirty work in the business here. So I mentioned, like I said, on the Tuesday that because of Dolly Parton's passing that I was going to push some things back into today. We're doing that today. So I've been wanting to do this for a bit, and it's not going to be comprehensive, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to be end all, but it is going to be a good, solid, I won't say report, but an update, a snapshot, a caption, a look at a point in time for us. Now, Tuesday was day 179. Today is day 181. And that happens to be just exactly a half year, 6 months, depending on the month, right? But roughly, basically a half year, 362 days. We're at 80, or excuse me, 181 days, 6 months, half a year. And where are we? And what is it that we're looking at? I don't think anybody, even if you're in the cult, I don't think anybody will deny that war is not good because people die. War is not good because people hurt, people suffer. If you want to get like American transactionalist about it and cold and emotionless because you're so badass and you're so tough guy that you don't care about anybody else on the planet, just America, right? America first, screw everybody else. I don't think that way. Unlike some people on that side, I don't just preach about being good to others. I believe in practicing it. And for the record, I'm no saint, okay? I was in the Army, and I would have killed if that was my job and required of me. But no, I don't take pleasure or happiness in watching women and children dying in other countries because of our bombs, our missiles, our weapons, our money. I don't have to like that. I can be all American 100%. Patriotic is all hell. But I don't have to like that. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to be okay with it. And in some, that is, quite literally where we are. We need to take a look at what we have given for some gain that we still have yet to realize or to see. I don't see the gain. As of today, after half year, after 181 days of a war that the overwhelming majority of this country does not support and is not for and does not want to continue. All facts, ladies and gentlemen, all facts. So we're going to lay out for you the consequences. And I'm going to start with the predicate being and the underlying principle that as of today, right now, there is no gain. What has America gained? What have you gained as an American? Do you feel good because we're beating the hell out of some little country in the Middle East? Making ourselves feel better because an administration tells us that we're doing the good thing and removing their nuclear capability? They still have it. It may have been damaged or set back, but they still have it. They're still there. Do we feel better because we were told that we're going to help the Iranian people rise up against their oppressors and start anew, build a democracy, give people their freedom? That hasn't happened and is not going to happen. If anything, it's more hardline and worse. We'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, let me leave that there because there's I can do this all night. Literally, we can do an hour of just this, what I'm doing right now. There is no gain. There has been no gain. To you, to me, to the American people, to the American military, to the American economy, to the world economy, to the world's people. There is no gain. There is no benefit here as of today. Now, if tomorrow, day 182, all of that flips and all of a sudden everything's rosy and great and Iran begins a full-fledged democracy and its women are no longer oppressed and people don't have to worry about getting picked up in the middle of the night and blown away or put in a prison cell. I can go on and on. They have freedom of speech, freedom of the press. And all of that takes place by tomorrow. And the the Iranian economy no longer craters and their people actually have food to eat as opposed to 100% inflation on their daily grocery items. And there are no longer schools of women and children being bombed and eradicated. If all of that's by tomorrow and it flips and there's no more nuclear weapons in Iran forever, right, for the rest of history because we're getting rid of their nuclear capability. That's why we're there. We're liberating their people. That's why we're there. We're making the world safe for democracy. That's a laugh. Yeah, that's a laugh. That's a joke. If all of that takes place by tomorrow, then I'll retract and I'll eat my own words. And I think as facetiously as I can in terms of the visual and the imagery of the screen in front of you, if you're not watching, if you're just listening, but I can describe to you, I'm obviously being facetious, joking, and I'm, not serious about that because I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen over a day or two. Reminder, this president said that we won this war on day one. He said so on day one. Lie. He said it wouldn't last more than 3 to 4 weeks. Lie. Then it was 6 weeks, 2 months. Lie. All this is verifiable, by the way. All of this is on record. Sound and video, okay? All lies. So again, we'll start with that predicate. We'll start with that stable base before we move on into the meat of tonight's show. There is no gain. There has been no gain. And I'm feeling pretty comfortable in saying and stating lucidly and with some intelligence that whatever gain there ends up being, and again, that's an if there is a gain for us attacking Iran, starting a war with Iran, for no reason, and without the support of the American people, without the support of the Congress, without the support and belief for this war. All verifiable, all true. The overwhelming majority did not believe in this war, are not for this war, and don't believe we should continue. Facts. Having said all that, that is my predicate. That is what I lay down as a base. If there is a gain, it will not be viewable, seeable, understandable, or maybe even realized for a long, long time. What does that long, long time look like? We're talking months, years, probably many years. Years before we see any tangible gain, any understandable, verifiable, provable gain to why we attacked this country and killed people. That is where I'm at. So what we can do, since we cannot prove there is a gain, we don't know if there's going to be a gain. That's simple. You don't have to be that smart to understand that. There is no gain. Damn it. Make it clear. There has been no gain. There is no gain. And there may not be a gain, a benefit, a plus, a positive, something beneficial to these United States and the people in it, us, the American people. Which, sidebar, incredibly selfish, by the way. Let's just go do some stuff because it's going to benefit us only, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. America first. The hell with everybody else on the planet, just us. Historically, astronomically stupid. So here we go. Here's what we can go over, what we can show. Not the gain, but the cost. 6 months after the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran, this war that our president called a little excursion, that's a reminder. He said this was just a little excursion half a year later, not just a little excursion. It's a quagmire now, not an excursion. Iran has not surrendered. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remains disrupted and unstable. No clear path to ending the conflict. I mean, once a week, once a day, Trump says, oh, they're working a deal. Oh, we're not working on a deal. Oh, they're going to sign it. They really want a deal bad. Never happens. It's hard to keep your story straight when you don't know what the story is going to be yourself. So not a surprise that we have no clear path to ending this because they never knew what they were doing to begin with. Just sending our kids over there to get shot at and die, right? Further military strikes won't force concessions. I think we know that now. I want to make sure I'm 100% clear on this for the average American, regular person, layman, you and me. I think even we all know. You just can't bomb and airstrike the shit out of some country and expect it to roll over. I think we've seen that. I think even that's in the national psyche, the national conscience now. I think the average American understands you can't just bomb the hell out of something and expect it to just roll over and quit. The obvious and simple example of that would be Vietnam. We tried that. We did that. It didn't work. Then we put troops on the ground, troops in the jungles. A lot of my family on both sides. And that didn't work. And then we egressed out of there not so elegantly into the early 70s years later. Didn't get the Vietnamese, Viet Cong to just say, "Oh, you win." And that was in the 60s and the 70s. Long time ago. Okay, 50, 60 years plus. Military strikes will not force concessions. So now the United States is embarking on a campaign of economic pressure in hopes to further weaken Iran's government. And I think that's incredibly stupid as well. Okay, now we're going to apply economic pressure after we've spent a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of munitions. Oh, let's hold up. Let's focus on applying economic pressure. Who does economic pressure hurt? It actually hurts the people of Iran more than it does anyone else. So we're going to hurt their people. And even that, all we're doing is creating more enemy, because instead of just say we're going to take out the leadership and we're going to allow you to lead yourselves and you're going to be free, now we're hurting their people. The people of Iran will hate the United States as long as they live. As long as some young guy who's 17 years old who doesn't have food and goes home and his mom tells him there's nothing because they can't afford it, there's no money. I can go on and on. And I'm saying it in this way so that we understand, regular people, us in the United States, not our government, us. They're going to hate us. They're not going to hate our government. They're not going to hate our president. They already do that. That's easy. But they're going to hate all of us. They're going to hate you and I. Now, maybe you're Captain Badass and you don't care. And it's not to say that I uniformly just care so much. It's just I don't think we even had to do that. I don't want somebody on the other side of the planet hating me just because. I don't want somebody on the other side of the planet hating me because I've got an idiot of a president who does stupid shit and goes and attacks people because he'll never have to fight. I don't want them hating me because I have a president that likes picking fights that he'll never have to fight himself. All true, by the way. All fact. What happens next is unclear, but many of the war's probable enduring consequences for the United States, Iran, and the global economy are already apparent. So here are the items, and this is a good little article I read, a good piece. Really liked it, more so than the others. There are some items I believe in a little more than others, and I'm going to focus on the ones that I think are strongest for us, meaning that you understand and that you can get. They state that Trump is paying a political price. I don't think so. Oh, I take that back to a degree, right? But when you say Donald Trump is paying a political price, you have to begin and end alpha and omega with this. Does Donald Trump care about paying a political price with the American people? And the answer is a resounding no. A simple, understandable no. He doesn't care. Okay, he's old. And I'm not ageist. Don't pick on people because they're old. But let's put it all on the table. Let's not play games here. This is Super Mex Nation, the show for the thinking Mexican, the show for the thinking American. We don't play those games. We don't play those Rudolph games. No reindeer games here. Donald Trump does not give a damn about a political price. He's in office. He cannot be removed. He should be removed, but his cabinet and the people around him lack the spine and the strength of character and courage necessary to remove a toxic president that is getting Americans killed for no damn good reason. That has already gotten hundreds of thousands of Americans killed for no damn good reason. So no, he doesn't care. So I disagree with their premise that Trump is paying a political price to a degree, right? His poll numbers, as I have stipulated and pointed out more than a few times, I think the most recent, I didn't even do that this week, but the most recent is he is down to 33%. For those of you math whizzes out there, 33% is 1/3. Joking a bit here, but 1/3 approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. 1/3 of the American people. 2/3 disapprove. 2/3, 60-something%, as opposed to the 33%, right? So 1 of every 3 Americans actually approves of the job that he's doing. 1 of 3. Obviously not the majority. Obviously not all of America. Clearly not. Small minority approve of his job. And so that's the lowest point. We are now at the lowest point in his presidency in terms of job approval. If they think he's doing a good job, he's not. That's verifiable and clear, and it's reflected in the polls. You're always going to have some. My point to you overall underlying this is that it's not going to move, and I think I said that a couple of weeks ago. It's not going to move much lower. His support or his base is solid to a point. We're reaching that point now. I don't think it'll go under 30. I'd be amazed if it got under 30 because he's done some absolutely stupid, evil things during this second term. We have Americans getting whacked out on the street because we have a Gestapo, all but in name. He started a war because he wanted to take eyes off of the Jeffrey Epstein files because his name is in it 38,000 times, and now there's no prosecution on the pedophiles and sex traffickers at all by his Department of Justice. Those people are free to go about their business as normal, even though they're in those files and they did these things to little girls. Little girls. So there is no more. I don't see it getting any lower. This might be the low point. And it is also the low point for any president in American history, by the way. It's bad. That's just more a mark of where we are as a people than anything else, that we'll tolerate this much. That's sorry on our part. We're not that strong, ladies and gentlemen. We're not. You see an objective wrong and you just defend it because you think you have to. You see something clearly that is not good. Little girls being trafficked, molested. And you look away and you can't call that out. Then we're wrong. We're flawed. We're bad. We're not good. If 1/3 of us cannot be okay with that, if 1/3 of us can look away. So let me move on from that point. Is Trump paying a political price as a consequence of this war? To a small degree, yes. And ultimately, and I've thought about this long and hard over the last 6 months, leading to now. I don't think it matters, not just to him, but to the people that support him. It doesn't. Because all they'll do is turn around, well, Biden did this, and Obama did that, and John F. Kennedy did this, and now they're trying to take his name off a damn building that he deserved and put Trump's name on it. So I'm feeding you all that real quick, but think about it. Think about it. Is Trump paying a political price for this war that he started? Small, yes. In the larger context, maybe not. Maybe not. We've still got time here. We've still got more to see, obviously. But I don't think it's going to go much lower in terms of approval of his job. I think the war can get worse. I hope it doesn't. I don't want to see any more Americans killed. I don't want to see our people die for a stupid reason, for a stupid cause. It's not even a cause, it's just a whim. I don't want to see more Americans die because of that, period. For the record, it's not even like a mistake, right? Somebody not too bright mentioned once, well, what about the Afghanistan botched withdrawal on Biden's part where Americans died? True. It was botched. It was done poorly. It was bad. But no one questions the intent, because President Biden got us out of Afghanistan after Trump said he would. He didn't get the job done. He just bitched about it after someone else did it. And think about that before I move on to this next point. Donald Trump talks about what he's going to do and then doesn't get it done, withdraw from Afghanistan. And we do know now, obviously, he never really cared about the no new wars thing. I'm not for war, I'm against wars. He said he would get us out of Afghanistan, and he didn't. And then when Biden did it, and there was a botched withdrawal, he bitched about it. And that's a fallacy. That's a joke to me with regard to comments that way. So, not paying a political price. Marginally in polling, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter. And I'm being a little pessimistic here, but I think I'm correct. If I'm wrong, I hope so, but I think I'm correct. He's still going to be there 2 more years. And he's probably going to do something stupid or crazy or asshat or wrong or evil over this next 2+ years. I could see that coming. The war, as a consequence, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, has shaken, disrupted, and made unstable the global economy. But here again, not as much as you would think, right? Now, it's been said, and most people know, most people understand, that the Strait of Hormuz has been given the tag as overseeing or managing and handling 1/5 of the world's energy activity in the form of shipping, oil, etc., through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, oil going in and out. 1/5 of the world's energy, oil, that way. And even though the strait is still disrupted, and even though Iran now has a new weapon in the form of control of the strait, and let me back up there. They don't necessarily control the Strait of Hormuz. But whereas before they didn't necessarily control it or manage it or do anything to it, now they do. They didn't disrupt oil transmission through the Strait of Hormuz before. Now they do. And ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't take a lot. Drones, small ships, some missile fire off the coast. It's a very, very small, narrow, I want to say it's 20 miles, 21 miles, something like that. But a very narrow strait, relatively, of course, but a narrow strait that can be hit, meaning ships that are going through can be hit from land on either side. And so they have found a mechanism with which to manage in some small measure or control in some small measure the strait and the traffic that goes through it. So it is disrupted. The war has disrupted the global economy. I don't think anybody with half a brain would deny that it has clearly made things cost more all over the world, not just in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Most of us don't travel all over the world all the time, but for sure, at least in the United States, we do know things are up. And it isn't because it's Joe Biden's fault. He's gone. He's been gone. This is Trump's fault. You don't get to blame Biden after Trump has been in office for a couple of years and doing whatever the hell he wants. So, yeah, and so 34 kilometers, 21 miles. U.S. and Israeli attacks triggered immediate alarm because the Strait of Hormuz narrows to about 21 miles, 34 kilometers, between Iran and Oman, carries roughly 1/5 of the world's energy supplies. The disruption sent oil prices sharply higher and prompted fears of a global downturn. There was a downturn, but it's not significant and lasting. We've adjusted as the world is wont to do, as people are wont to do. Damage has been significant, but less severe than economists had initially feared. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has cut its global forecast twice since the war began, and now expects the world economy to grow by 3% this year, compared with a forecast of 3.3%. Now we're talking about big, it's the world economy, but obviously 3% down from a 3.3% plus forecast is not like debilitating or bad. Okay? It's worse, but not breaking. Iran, and this is the consequence of this war that Donald Trump started without congressional approval, without approval of American people, without American people being on board. Iran is wounded but not defeated. I think that's clear. Donald Trump has gone on the mic a gazillion times and said, oh, they have no air capability. Oh, they don't have this. We beat them up. We blew them to hell. We won on the first night. But they're still there. And they're still semi-controlling the Strait of Hormuz. And they're fighting back as much as they are capable of fighting back. They're still conducting business. China is being supplied in large measure by Iranian oil. Iranian oil is being purchased and bought by China. They are making money. So wounded but not defeated. Iran's military and economy have suffered severe damage. That is obvious, but Tehran can still launch attacks and keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. True, all true. In May, the top U.S. military commander for the Middle East, Admiral Brad Cooper, told Congress that U.S. forces had destroyed 161. These are the numbers that I told you I'd give you on Tuesday, data. Admiral Cooper told Congress the U.S. forces had destroyed 161 Iranian naval vessels and disabled 82% of its air defense systems. This was in May. He said Iran's Air Force, which had previously flown up to 100 sorties a day, was no longer conducting missions. That is true. Even so, Iran retains drones and missiles, new warfare, and has successfully attacked shipping and U.S. military installations around the region. In March, Reuters reported that the United States could determine with certainty that it has destroyed only about a third of Iran's vast missile arsenal. Likely damaged, destroyed, or buried those missiles in underground tunnels and bunkers. The war has killed thousands and deepened Iran's economic crisis, worsening inflation and disrupting trade. In July, food inflation hit a 128% year-on-year, according to Iran's Statistical Center. I'll take that with a grain of salt, but clearly, food inflation is through the roof. I would say probably at least 100%. Their people are having trouble eating. The Middle East has been destabilized, exposing U.S. allies. I've talked a little bit about this over the last few weeks. I think it's more significant and important than we are getting to understand or given to understand. The U.S.-Israeli war was meant to remove Iran as a threat to the Middle East, but analysts say it has instead emboldened Tehran and left the region less secure. I agree with that uniformly. I agree with that. We have not removed Iran. They continue to remain a threat in the Middle East, if not beyond. And I would argue, and I kind of have in some small way in different measures, that it is not just emboldened Tehran, but it has given them greater resolve. And I know I've said this before, I'm going to say it again because it needs to be repeated and it bears repeating. We killed their leader, kind of like we kidnapped the Venezuelan leader, right? We just do whatever the hell we want to any leader on the planet. Let me put a pin on that for 1 second. Make sure I'm clear here. Stay with me. my members, Show for the Thinking Mexican, Show for the Thinking American. We went and jacked, kidnapped Venezuela's leader. Now, I don't give a damn if we don't like the guy, if he's evil, if he's a saint, if he's good for us, if he's bad for us. When you begin to establish that pattern that we are telling the rest of the world, we can take your leader out, we can kidnap them, we can kill them just because we say so. And then we provide some trumped up rationale. And yes, that was an active choice of words. Trumped up. It's going to mean a hell of a lot more than what that initially was before this traitor got into office. If we are telling the rest of the world that we, the United States, solely has the right to just go and remove or take leaders out as we see fit, not only where does that leave the rest of the world, but what does that say about us and what the repercussions will be for us? I know if I'm in another country, I ain't digging on that. Any country, including our allies, don't believe that's okay, don't believe that's right, don't believe it's not just illegal, but it's globally incoherent, incompetent, and not good for anybody. That one country becomes the sole arbiter and dictator of what is right and wrong in this world. We used to be able to do that and get people to believe that we were right about something. Ain't working that way anymore. So yes, we removed their leader. That leader was replaced by his son. And I've said this a bunch of times, and I'm going to repeat it again. It bears repeating. How many people out there, other than in Trumplandia, in his orbit, or his mentality, his mind, his stupidity, how many of you out there, I mean, seriously, really think that the new leader of Iran, the son of the old leader who we killed, is going to be happy and okay with that and work with us and be smiling to do it? How stupid do you need to be to believe that? I mean, seriously, you really believe that? If that were my dad and that was done to him, I ain't negotiating with you. I ain't working with you. I'm trying to find a way to hurt you, to kill you, to do things to you. Even if I don't have the means or the power, I will find a way. I will find a way to hurt you. That's what I believe. I'm just a regular guy, regular old soldier, regular old teacher. But because I'm regular, I think regular. That's what regular people think. You murdered my father, so don't be surprised if I don't want to work with you anymore or at all. Don't be surprised if I want to kill you. Don't be surprised if I want to kill your people and I want to kill you personally. Don't be surprised if I don't sign my name on a piece of paper saying now it's all good and we're at peace now after you kill my father and kill my people. Process that, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. It's not complicated. Foreign policy and foreign relations, at their very core, are not difficult to understand. They're actually quite simple. It's people. Writ large, yes. Larger numbers, of course. We're not talking about you and I right here one-on-one. We're talking about thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. We can hate, we can love, we can have joy, we can have happiness, we can have pain. We can be all of those things. We can have all of those things because we are not fundamentally different than when we first crawled out of caves that way. Foreign relations are simple that way. It's people that complicate them. So if I killed this guy's dad, I should not be surprised when he doesn't want to sign a peace treaty with me. And I should not be surprised when he wants to kill mine and me. Not complicated. My point overall, we're going a little long here, I'm going to finish up. We have destabilized the Middle East. You can make the argument logically over the course of a lot of years, decades plus. The Middle East is always destabilized. You could literally make that case. You have these downturn windows of time where it may not be as active, it may not be a hot war, but there's always something going on in the Middle East with one country or another. The Shia and the Sunni thing, that is ancient. That is quite literally 1400. I'll have to do the math for you, but a millennia and a half, not quite a millennia, but 1400 years, 1300 and something years of division and difference between the Islamic world and itself with its belief in its two main branches, Sunni and Shia. So it's always destabilized that way. But it has downturns. It has windows where it's not as bad. And then we came in and threw some gas on it. You got to wonder, right? Not just was it intentional. I think you get where I'm going with that. Anyway, the main issue for me here on this particular thing, that region, and I've said this before, is the most fought over and most disputed and disruptive region on the planet for the last 5,000 years of our recorded history as a species. But what really stings or what really bothers me today is not that takes place, because that's always there. It's always that. But that we have caused issue and problems, not just in the region for us, the United States. And I've said before, I have a problem with what we're doing and dealing with in terms of Saudi Arabia. I really do. You should too, if you're a regular American like me. What do I say? 15 of the 19? Give me one wrong here or there. 15 of the 19 9/11 attackers that killed people on our soil, killed our people. 15 of the 19 are Saudi Arabian people, were Saudi Arabian. And we're over here giving them our nuclear capability. Our allies in the region, of which we count Saudi Arabia as one of them, our allies in the region are largely destabilized right now with us because we're incoherent in our plan and our policy, and we're looking like we're just a damn shill for Israel, who I've said before has been our traditional ally. But when an ally uses you like a bitch for its own ends and using you to take the damage and the long-term resentment and hate, then that's no longer an ally. That's a pimp using a bitch. We've got issues now in that region because of it. Those are the concerns that I have that you should also be paying attention to. Continue to monitor how we work with and how we continue to bend over for Israel and what that means for us in the region. And here, last point, and what that means for us in the eyes of the rest of the world, including our allies, including NATO, including the EU, the European Union, and our traditional allies that have kept us number one at the top of the heap, the world's global superpower. We didn't get there on our own. We had friends and allies that helped us get there. And we're losing them. We're burning those bridges. And the only thing left is the fall. Fall can be slow. Fall can be Byzantine, for that matter, if you get the point. Rome didn't fall in a day. Those are the problems that I've got. Those are the ones you need to pay attention to. Last point. And really hammer home here. One of the main underlying points to all of this was their nuclear capability. And no one on the planet wants Iran nuclear capable because it'd be dangerous, right? Kind of like North Korea, Pakistan, India, and some others. I think you get the point. It could take longer now because, yes, we've clearly done damage to them. I have no doubt in my mind that we have harmed and set back their capability, their enrichment of uranium. but it is not gone. It is not gone. And they are making money. And they are being supported and getting help in a variety of ways. It'll be too long to go here because we got to finish up. They're getting help. They're getting support from Iran, from China, from Russia, hell, North Korea for that matter, for all I know, and others, other rogue actors that are not with us. They're helping them because it is in the interest of Russia, it is in the interest of China, it is in the interest of North Korea, any other rogue nation that we deem as not good. It is in all of their interests that we stay in Iran and continue to expend our money, our resources, our capability, our people. And as I say all of that, that is a perfect sum total to tonight's show. It is in the interest of our enemies that we remain in Iran. And remember, as I sign off for tonight, remember this. We stay in Iran and we continue to spend money, time, energy, resources, munitions, weapons, aircraft, and our people. We're doing the rest of the enemy world to us a monumental favor in what Donald Trump has done and continues to do to our people and our country in Iran. And for the record, before I sign off tonight, I'll make sure I'm 100% clear. I'm not against fighting. I was trained and more than capable of defending this country with my M16A2 in my hands if I needed to fight for what I believe is right about this country. I believe in fighting, but I believe in fighting when it is necessary. And I believe in fighting only when it is needed and only when it prevents the loss of life on the part of my people, my country. And that is not the case here. We are wasting money, energy, resources, and yes, we are wasting people. We are wasting American lives. That is my show for tonight. Use that little 3 or 4 piece of statements and items to pay attention to as we go into this weekend, to sift through, as I've said before, the garbage, the misinformation, and the stuff that is harming us more than it is helping us as a people. Okay, we'll be back next Tuesday, Thursday, regular 2 nights to finish up this week. Matter of fact, take that back. We'll be into the next month, this coming week. But number love for you. Enjoy your time over the weekend. Spend time with loved ones and family. Enjoy what you have of this country while we still have it in its present format. Number love for you. I'll see you next week.